This is a class question from the 2020 exam. So what we have going on here is that we have a class that's called single table. The single table has a couple of methods. It's got to get number of seats, get the height of the table, get the view quality. So what we're going to do on this is combine two tables. So we're going to combine two single table objects to make a combined table. And what happens is when you combine two single tables, they are going to have two less seats than both the single table objects combined, because when you combine them, right here, if you're putting two of them together, whoever was sitting here and here can no longer sit there, so it's always -2. So you take the total seats in single table 1 and the total seats in single table 2, add them together and subtract 2, and that'll be the number of seats in the combined table. The other thing is get the desirability. So the first thing about desirability is, are the tables the same height? If the tables are the same height, then your new desirability is going to be the average of the two view qualities. But if our tables have two different heights, that's not as desirable, so it's going to be the average of the two single table get desirability or get view quality, whatever it was, -10. So they give you this, and this is exactly all the stuff you should be writing for. So they have us show us with three single tables. There's table 1, table 2, and table 3. There's many seats and their view qualities and their heights. So my first combined table is combining table 1 and table 2. Notice they are the same height. So can I seat 9? Well, here it says I can do 8 plus 4, which gives us 12, -2, so 10. So yes, I can seat 9. Can I seat 11? No. But if I want to get the desirability of this, because my tables have the same height, it's the average of the view quality of those two. And that's what you return. Now, if we do the second one, which is table 2 and table 3, so here we'd be able to sit, let's see, 20 -2, 18 people. So can I seat 18? Absolutely. And it wants you to get the desirability. Notice that because my tables are not the same height, I'm going to average these and then subtract 10. And that's what we need to write it for, is exactly this problem. And of course, these are examples that should be able just to give you an idea of what's happening, but you're not going to assume that T1 is going to have 4 seats and T2 is going to have 8 seats. That's just a general example. Looking at can seat. So can seat is passing in a value, and you're going to return a Boolean, true or false, if you can seat that amount. Remember, we can seat them if we get the seats from table 1 and table 2, add them together and subtract 2. If that number is greater than the number we need to seat, then you can seat the people, otherwise you can't. It's about the get desirability. So actually, set view quality. Get desirability is table 2, set view quality is on a single table. C2 is a combined table, which we're going to do get desirability, which is going to return a double. So first thing, it's going to be public class combined table. So what is a combined table made out of? A combined table is made out of two single tables. And remember, for the class question, all of your instance variables are going to be declared as private. So private single table, because that's the data type. And I'm just going to call it S1. And we're going to need another table, because two single tables make a combined table. So this is our instance variables. The next thing is our constructor. Remember, constructors have the same name as the class. The class is combined table, so it's going to be public combined table. And you're going to pass in the two. So we need to pass in two single table objects. So we're going to call that single table, and I'm going to give it the temporary name table 1, and a single table, and I'm going to give it the temporary name T2. And this is a constructor. The only job of the constructor is to initialize the instance variables. So S1 is really going to be equal to table 1. S2 is going to be table 2. So the next thing they wanted us to write was can seat. So going back over here. So the method header would be public Boolean can seat, and we're passing in the number we want to see if we can seat. So I'm going to find the number of seats. So I'm going to say int num. That's going to be the object's S1 dot get num seats. And then we're going to add in S2 dot get num seats. And then subtract 2. So that's the number of people we can actually seat. So if the number of people we want to seat in is less than the number of chairs we have, then return true because we can seat that many. We have that many seats. Otherwise, you're going to return false. And then the next problem, so public double get desirability. So first I'm going to find the average of my two view qualities and store that. So that would actually be a double. So double, and I'm going to call that just view, which is kind of our score for that. So I'm going to say table1 dot get view quality. We just called it T1, not table 1. And I'm going to do the same thing for table 2. That's a method, so you have to make sure you do your parameters. And of course, you have to take this and divide it by 2. Now, if my tables have the same height, then I'm going to return that view. If my tables do not have the same height, then we're going to return that view minus 10. So if T1 dot get height equals T2 dot get height, which means the tables have the same height, you're going to return that view, the average of the view qualities. Else, you're going to return, and you do not need to use else because if you hit the first return statement, you're done. Otherwise, if you skip over that first return statement, it's going to hit the second return statement, view minus 10. So let's see how this one was scored. So the first point comes from declares the class header. So if you had this class header, public class combined table, you get a point. The second point declares the appropriate private instance variable single table. So you need to have the word private and a single table along with a temporary name. The third point comes from writing the constructor. The fourth point comes from the method header for can seat. The next point, use the fact that you called get number of seats on a single table object. and returns can seed correctly, either true or false. The next point is the method header for get desirability. The next point comes from did you call get height and get view quality on an object? And the last point is did you correctly compute the view that you needed to return?